Welcome back for another video, guys, and we are so close to getting this car out on track. We have a few little things to do to it. We've got to wrap it. That's sitting inside my house, and I cannot wait to show you exactly what that looks like because it is phenomenal. But before we get to that, we're going to get a few little things done to this car. So we'll get to it now, get it squared away, and then go and take it and get it wrapped. So you may be asking yourself, Mitch, what else can you do to this car before you actually get it out on track? Well, there's a few important things that we'll be doing that will make it easier for us to get this out on track. For one, we have a catch can to put in this car. Now, this catch can is a quite serious piece of equipment. Have a look at that. That is a 2-litre catch can from Brown Davis down in Melbourne. Now, I said this to one person, a 2-litre catch can for this car is pretty interesting. It's quite large. Some people have a lot of oil and blow-by come out of the engine and straight into the catch can. Some have none at all, but regulations state we need a 2-litre catch can, so that's what we're going to put in. We have a rain light that we have to put in. So we've got all the fittings and everything for that. We'll get that in. And you may be thinking, why have we got all these electrical things and more switches? And I'll get to that very shortly. And it is quite an interesting thought I came to, and one thing I wanted to rectify before taking this car out because I didn't want it to catch on fire. So we will get to that very shortly. And then we have just some wiring accessories here. Wind blowing the door open. Just some wiring accessories, some sleeving, bolts, nuts. We've got spring washers, things like that. So, without further ado, let's get in to get these few little jobs done. Then we'll get it right to go and take it to get wrapped. All right. So the first thing we're going to work on today on this lovely, breezy, cool day here in Townsville is in the engine bay. Now, what we have to do is put a 2-litre catch can within this engine bay, and Brown Davis down in Melbourne make a spectacular piece of equipment. It sits right here where your washer bottle would normally sit in the road car. It just has 2 lines that run off to the back up here off the case, and then you just drill out this one. It's a vacuum operated fitting, which would normally be controlled by the plenum, but because we don't want that to happen, we just drill out the fitting in there, and it will then just run straight down into our catch can. And then we just block off the 2 fittings to the plenum, and that means we've got air going straight in instead of having a mixture of oil vapor and air mixing together, circulating back through the engine. So we'll get this fitting off, we'll drill it out, stick it back in, and then we'll start mounting up our catch can. It should be a fairly easy thing to do. Alright, 14mm spanner. Loosen it off. There we go. Now we just have to drill that out, make it a nice clean path, and stick it back in. So, apart from having that connection there sorted, we've now got our catch can installed, and it should serve a purpose well. Now we're moving on to something that in this car has been bugging me for a long time. It's our front, our indicators at the front. Now the right one's broken, and I do have 2 new ones to go on before we wrap this car, so we'll throw them on now and get this car looking schmick. Alright, so in these cars, these front indicators when racing do have a tendency to fall out. So the goal is to try and eventually find a way where they will not just fall out, because they're literally held on by 1 screw. That one's out. Now I'll pull the bulb out and I will change it all out. Alright, this one will sit in. You can see how much clearer they are. all sit in there. So what I'll do is before I get stuck, change it all over. Oh, I reckon we might need some new bowls as well. Look at that. Look at that. Garbage. Okay. Instead of hooking them up, I'll just put this one in for the moment. It sits right in there. So, right in there. Like so. Much nicer. Now when this car gets wrapped, these indicators and the headlights will be getting a nice tint put on them. That's in nice and solid, but the other one, on the other side, this one right here, this is the jankiest one you've ever seen. I'll show you. When I got this car, it had jerry-rigged up a indicator and it literally just falls out. And you can see there the attachment snapped off, so I've just drawn 2 screws straight in, piece of steel. I actually had to trim that down because it was so long. So we'll get this changed over, put a nice new one in. And this one just had a clear bulb. The orange part to the indicator is actually inside the light. 2 completely different styles, so we'll get new indicator lights for these and change them over. That much better. Perfect. And look at that now. You've got nice clean indicators. It's a shame the other car looks, the rest of the car looks like the Pox. That will be changing very, very shortly. Alright, so the next thing we're going to put on the car at the back is this high intensity rain light. It is quite bright, and I know this because I decided to test it out one day, touched it up to the battery, and I saw red, I think, for the next hour. It is bright.
What an idiot.
And how it's going to sit is it's going to attach to the back of the car with this bracket. Now, both of these items you can buy as a kit from xlraceparts.com.au. I think it was about 105, 110. Then you got postage, but impressive bit of kit because these brackets actually utilize factory holes in the back of the car to mount this to the car, and it also helps maintain the black little piece of trim at the back that tends to always fall off. So now we'll mount that up. We've got some wire here we're going to run through the car, which will lead us to this big mess here. Deutsch connector that we can then plug the rain light into our little harness we'll fab up and get that taken care of so we can run it off a switch within the car, because some people run it off the headlights or the tail lights. I'm going to run it off just a standard switch. It's just what I want to do. You can wire it up how you wish, but that's the way we're going to go. So we'll get it in the car and see how it looks. Right, so I've got the first Deutsch connector wired up. Looking good, so now we can just attach this straight in, nice and neat, and put it all together. Alright, it's all back together now, and you can see we've got our our rain light there, securely mounted to the back of the car, nice and even. And now just to get it wired up, which is the next step. I think we might head into town, take my son into town and get some food, and then we'll come back and keep working. So, wiring. Now you may be wondering what this big control box is in here, and if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that I made my own switch panel for it within the car, which I'll show you shortly. And while that switch panel is absolutely brilliant, and I'm really happy with the way it came out, when I went back and just did some thinking about things, I determined I wanted to run everything off relays. One, I don't want the car catching on fire, and two, I found these wiring looms which would make putting it in with the relay super easy. So I came up with a new switch panel, and what these are essentially is each one of these switches is their own wiring loom. Now in this box, these looms are actually for a LED light bar. They're 30 amp rated wiring looms. They all have fuses in them. They come with, which I'll show you in a second, they come with the relay. And all you have to do is literally mount them up, hook everything up, and then away you go. So that's our goal. Now off this, normally at the moment on the one inside, we've got our accessories, our fan, things like that. The big one for me is the radiator fan. I don't want that overheating and cooking the wiring in the car. And if you look inside the car, down here, all right, coming out of the box, we've got all these wires and stuff, and it's just really messy. So this will, once these are all wrapped up nice and neatly, it makes it much tidier and much neater. So before we get into this, we need to run the lines for the rain light that we just put in. And to do that, we're going to be using our leads. And again, if you were following this channel for a while, you'd understand that I had cables running from the back to the front, and I made just a wound wire with a drill. We'll be doing the same thing with the leads in the for the rain light. So start unwinding this, wrap them up, get them wound. We'll be wrapping them in this beautiful braided sleeving, expandable braided sleeving, and then run it from the back, from the front all the way to the back, ready for the rain light. Alright, so this is for our rain light. I've run it all the way down the side of the car, from the back, from the rain light, down here underneath this support, and then back out this hole up here, just over there. Hopefully we don't have to move it. If we do, that's fine, we can sort that out. Now, as you can see, there is an absolute cluster of wiring down there that we need to sort out. Every time I look at this, it just irks me, just looking at it. Same with that, I love bright colors, but hey, I don't think we need that many bright colors running around the car. So, this is where our new switch panel is. This is what I was talking about before. We had these switches here, which are great, okay? They look fantastic, but underneath that box, it's quite like the base of the actual switch is quite large and takes up a lot of space. And with these new switches that I'm putting in, that came with the loom, it takes up less space, and it means that we can run the same size box, but instead of just making a whole new box up, we can just take that lid off with those switches and keep them as spares for something, and then we can put the new lid on and just run the cable straight out. So what I'm going to do is pull the lid off that, undo all the switches, pull all the cables out, and then I might just cut them straight off, and then we're going to get rid of all that cabling, even though we've done it all, get rid of the cable ties, and then sort out all that mess down there. And I do have a solution, and hopefully it neatens things up. Ooh wee. Alright. I think we just cut them. Ugh, it's like giving someone a haircut. And no, I don't have the battery connected, which makes life easy. All right. So, all that we can get rid of now. And we can put in our new switches. Just got to make sure the hole's big enough for it all. Done. Much neater. So put the screws back in this now. All right, that's all our relays mounted up. Now it's just time to get the rest of it sorted, which will be, we'll get it mounted in the car now with our screws. So as you can see, now got it all mounted up. Just have to straighten that one up a little bit, tidy them up. And now we can start wiring it all up and making it look pretty again. Also, a quick side note, it's so nice to work on your car and not be sweating the entire time because of the heat outside. It's beautiful weather, a bit overcast, nice breeze, but this is lovely. So I'm actually relishing the fact that I'm actually working in some beautiful weather and it's not hot. So probably didn't film as much as what I wanted to this video and the process of doing it, just because I actually just wanted to get everything done. So we've got our relays all mounted up, all the harnesses run neatly, our constant power to our fuse block there, all the connections mounted up, and that all runs to our switch panel down here, so we can turn them all on. So turn our kill switch on down there, so turn it off, turn it on, turn our gauges on, our main screen there, and turn the fan on. You'll probably hear it start to roar. And then the last one is our rain light. We've got one spare one for the future if we want to run something different. Now the computer for the digital dash up here, it's actually mounted behind this area down in here, and it is really not messy. It's just well, I guess, loose, in a loose term, would be well organized. I know where everything's going. I know how it's all run. I just, there's a lot of cabling back there that I've run. I know where everything is, and it's just taking up the excess of the cabling. So I'm really happy with that, how that's all come about, how it's all panned out. Very easy access to it all. I also used to have the the ECU sitting down there on the floor. That has now been mounted just up underneath the steering column. Doesn't affect the steering in any way because the steering column runs through that round tube just there. So that's perfectly fine. Heaps of room for my feet now. But yeah, super happy how neat it is down here with all those cables being run. And much neater for all our accessories cables, and it doesn't look like there's a big pile of spaghetti sitting back down there. I've tried to clean it up as much as possible, but very happy with how it's all turned out. So we might leave it there. Alright, this brings us to the end of this video. Thank you for sticking around if you've got this far. This took me a couple of days to actually get it done because there was just a lot of tedious work and fiddly work with the wiring that I had to get right. And then just figuring out where I'd run different wires before. I knew most of it, some of them I had to fix up. But I'm really happy with how it's come out. The next video that I'll be doing, we'll be wrapping this car. When I say we, myself and a mate will be getting in and wrapping this car ourselves. We're not taking it anywhere else. We're doing it ourselves. We'll be taking the car somewhere else, but we'll be wrapping the car together by ourselves, not taking it to a professional installer. You can get the wraps for these cars as a kit, and we'll be putting it together, and hopefully, I can't wait to show you exactly what it comes out like, because it's going to look sensational. If you follow me on my social media channels, you would know the colors that are involved and what it may look like. But up until this point, no one has really seen it. A few people have seen it, but no one's really seen it yet. So I cannot wait to show you exactly what it looks like. Until next time, guys, have a great time. If you're racing, good luck, and I'll see you in the next video.